The streets of Atlanta are humming louder than ever. And this time, there's more at risk than just the dispute between Rasheeda and Yandy. Recent rumors claim that Mendeecees has been impacted personally, and fans are amazed by what they're hearing. Kirk Frost's caustic warning against Yandy has reportedly infuriated Mendeecees, who is ready to step in and defend his wife in a way that would utterly upend the hip-hop and romantic scenes. The bloggers are unstoppable. Social media is booming, and fans are asking the same questions. What happens when two husbands argue during a dispute that was already becoming out of control? Insiders claim that Kirk's warning made Yandy not the only person concerned. Mendeecees is determined to hold on to the spark it gave him. Is this most recent altercation bringing families closer to the drama? Or just more smoke to make things happen? Now that his wife has been caught in the crossfire, there is no denying that the tension is high and that everyone wants to know what Mendeecees has planned. Hold on tight, because this story is about to get ugly, more swiftly than anyone could have imagined. Word traveled about Kirk's warning to Yandy. Fans continued to replay the footage. The video became a blog headline. In the middle of all the confusion, one name started to trend with it: Mendeecees. After seeing his wife confront Rasheeda and then being taken aback by Kirk's fury, people wanted to know how he felt and how he responded. The silence from his camp only fueled the interest, and the rumor grew more intense by the moment. Rumor had it that Mendeecees was incensed upon hearing the footage. According to family sources, he was shaking his head and pacing the room, shocked that Kirk would ever think about crossing that line. He should stay in his lane, I hope. One insider claims that he was heard saying, "Because the second he threatens my wife, he threatens me too." Fans were ecstatic, envisioning the calm but protective husband who was willing to display a side that was rarely depicted on screen. But that wasn't the end of the tale. Rumor has it that Mendeecees contacted Kirk's close friends and family to make it clear he wasn't going to ignore the problem. An imminent altercation between two husbands replaced the dispute between two ladies, a relationship that could fundamentally change how the season unfolds. The familial component gave it greater weight. Shade wasn't the only thing. This was not just a hearsay. This was a defensive and proud gesture. Rasheeda, who was caught in the middle, allegedly tried to downplay the problem behind the scenes by asserting that Kirk's comments were spoken out of anger and weren't meant to escalate the situation. But fans weren't convinced. Rasheeda's fingers grasping his arm as if she knew he was seconds away from doing something he couldn't take back. Kirk's clenched fists and his voice breaking with suppressed rage were all examples of how his body language sent a different message. But Yandy was not going to ignore the occasion. In her own subtle way, she fueled the flames. She hinted that no threat could stop her from talking, that Kirk had only made her point, and that she wasn't terrified. The more she spoke, the more it felt like an open invitation for Mendeecees to step in and show the world that she didn't stand alone. "I've got people in my corner," she told a group of fans during a live session. Her tone calm but laced with confidence, and everyone knew exactly who she was referring to. The blog spun this into a frenzy. Mendeecees ready to defend Yandy against Kirk Frost. One headline screamed, "Family feud turns deadly serious." Another declared whether the stories were true or not almost didn't matter anymore. The perception was enough. Fans started imagining what it would look like if Kirk and Mendeecees came face to face. And the thought of two men known for their calm exteriors finally losing control became irresistible. Some fans pointed out that Mendeecees had always carried himself with quiet strength, preferring to avoid unnecessary drama. That was what made the rumors even more shocking. If a man who usually kept his cool was now ready to confront Kirk, then the situation was more serious than anyone had thought. And for others, it was about loyalty. They admired that Mendeecees was willing to step up for his wife, even if it meant clashing with someone he'd known for years. The commentary sections were flooded. "This ain't going to end well," one fan wrote. Another chimed in, "If Kirk thought Rasheeda was loud, wait until he sees Mendeecees step in." Hashtags like Tatar Team and Elbar Team Rasheeda trended simultaneously, with people debating who was right, who was wrong, and who would come out on top if the husbands ever truly clashed. Friends close to the cast claimed that producers were nervous. The last thing they wanted was for the situation to turn into something physical between the men, especially since both had reputations and families to protect. But at the same time, they couldn't ignore the ratings potential. Drama sells, according to a source. How far Mendeecees would go was the real worry on everyone's mind. As much as they don't want it to get ugly, they know this storyline is gold. Fans are hooked and they'll do anything to keep the cameras rolling. Would he approach Kirk directly, or would he hang back and let the tension build? He was reportedly already preparing for a private encounter. Others claimed that he planned to handle it publicly to demonstrate that disobeying his wife would have consequences. In any event, there was enough tension to keep fans glued to every flash of news, every whispered tale, and every rumor about what might happen next. Despite everything, Yandy seemed almost calm, as if she knew exactly what she was doing. Many others believed she had always been clever at twisting the tale and had foreseen this reaction from the start. By drawing Kirk into the argument, she had quietly elevated Mendeecees to the fore, and now the drama had doubled in size. What began as a furious dispute between two women had turned into a domestic conflict that tested their marriages in front of millions of viewers. Furthermore, new rumors that Mendeecees had already spoken to Kirk directly emerged, just as it seemed that everything may be settled. What was stated in the alleged call is yet unknown. However, it shows how involved people had become, that the rumor alone became so popular. Fans speculated incessantly. Did Mendeecees warn Kirk to back off? Was Kirk sorry? Or did the two men's words create a fresh tension that was ready to blow up? The uncertainty, which left everyone wondering how this drama would end, added to the tension. As rumors of Kirk and Mendeecees having a private conversation went viral, fans couldn't stop speculating what really transpired. Several insiders claimed that the phone conversation occurred. Others claimed that the awkward in-person meeting was set up by mutual friends, who were worried about keeping the drama from growing worse. Whichever version people chose to believe, the Whispers theme remained the same. "You crossed the line," Mendeecees allegedly said to Kirk in a cool but ominous tone. Those who said they heard the exchange said Kirk tried to brush it off as heat-of-the-moment talk. But Mendeecees wasn't convinced. Mendeecees didn't take Kirk's threat lightly, and his fury was impossible to ignore. The voice allegedly continued, saying, "Heat of the moment, don't make you threaten a woman. That's not man behavior, and you know it." Fans who allegedly listened to the tape of this argument posted a ton of responses on social media. "Say what you want about me, but you don't ever come for my wife like that." Some praised Mendeecees as the pinnacle of loyalty for standing up for Yandy. Thousands of people liked one comment that said, "That's what a real husband does." Others said that Mendeecees was just adding fuel to the fire because Kirk had already been pushed to the brink. This is now a full-fledged family dispute that could have been settled amicably. Another fan wrote, Rasheeda, meanwhile, reportedly felt caught between embarrassment and defensiveness. She was said to be furious that Kirk's temper had dragged their marriage back into the spotlight, reopening old wounds she had worked hard to close. Yet at the same time, she stood firm in protecting her husband, telling friends, "Yandy had been pestering us for a long time. Kirk isn't perfect, but without my help, no one can treat him that way either." Her words only added another layer of tension as it became clear the feud wasn't just Kirk versus Mendeecees. It was a collision of couples. Marriages put under the harshest public microscope. Under the harshest public microscope. Yandy never wanted one to step back from the fire, leaned into the drama. In a late-night live session, she teased fans by saying, "All I'll say is, my man don't play about me. Y'all saw what Kirk said, and you know Mendeecees ain't the type to sit back quiet." The coy grin that adorned her face caused a frenzy. After fans argued over whether this fight would actually get more intense on screen, hashtags like Mendeecees fees and Kirk and I protect Andy began to trend. The websites even went so far as to illustrate what an altercation may look like. Some claimed that Kirk appeared nervous during a local event, and there were reports that he was terrified of encountering men. According to some, Officials were urgently deciding behind the scenes whether to keep the men apart or put them together on camera in order to capture what could be one of the most dramatic scenes in the franchise's history. If this is filmed, the ratings will skyrocket. One unidentified producer reportedly admitted that viewers are already hooked in. Everyone wants to know how long Mendeecees will last and how resilient Kirk will be under pressure. Fans found the suspense to be addictive. Message boards were overflowing with predictions. Some thought Mendeecees would openly criticize Kirk in front of everyone, forcing him to own up to his comments. According to some, he had waited for the right opportunity to strike Kirk at the most inconvenient time. Everyone agreed that the calm before the storm was only making things worse. Although the men were the focus of gossip, the consequences for their families were just as terrible. Rasheeda was struggling to keep up her household and was worried that Kirk's reputation was going haywire again, according to people close to her. One source claims she's worn out, weary of being drawn into a catastrophe she didn't make, tired of defending him, and tired of always being the face of damage control. However, Yandy reportedly told pals that she felt vindicated and didn't regret a word she said. She allegedly said, "If speaking truth makes people uncomfortable, that's on them." As tensions ran high, fans began rewatching previous episodes, bringing up every shady moment between Kirk and Yandy to show that this feud had been growing for years. "I didn't force Kirk to lose his cool. He did that all on his own." The side eyes, subtle barbs, and quiet shade in the videos that went viral online were interpreted by many as a premonition of the present outburst. Then the unexpected turn of events happened. One fan remarked on Twitter, "This has been simmering for ages. We just didn't realize how deep it ran." There were whispers that Mendeecees was not simply angry, but that he intended to take action. He had previously threatened to break the cast by telling common associates that he would not go to the same events as Kirk, according to insiders. If true, it would challenge alliances and compel everyone in Atlanta's tight-knit community to choose a side. The possibility of such a split shook the fan base. Several guys appealed for reconciliation, hoping that the men would work out their disagreements before the performance turned into a battlefield. Some, however, yearned for more. One fan wrote, "Let them fight without compromise." Discussions about whether the franchise should tolerate that level of tension or if the boundary had already been crossed were sparked by the comment, "This is the drama we signed up for. Let the men handle it like the women do." The tension became so intense that even those who would normally keep quiet had to speak up. In an enigmatic online comment, one of the cast members reportedly said, "Sometimes silence ain't strength, it's patience. When patience runs out, the real fireworks start." Fans speculated right once that it was about guys interpreting it as a sign that things were far from done. The conflict now involved more than two households. It was become a cultural discussion subject. Radio hosts debated it on morning shows. As gossip sites turned every rumor into front-page material, fans everywhere took sides like it was a heavyweight boxing match. The significance of this plot point was only highlighted by the size of the response, how deeply it tackled pride, loyalty, and the intricate connections between love and reputation. Nevertheless, despite all the chaos, one thing was clear. Kirk's threat was not something Mendeecees was going to ignore. Whether it was his words, his actions, or the quiet but powerful force of his presence, everyone wanted to see the battle that was initiated. Rumors of a private incident between Kirk and Mendeecees were already making Atlanta shudder. But what happened next took the whole story to a new level. Rumor had it that producers were covertly getting ready to record the two guys together. According to insiders, though decision was not made unanimously since they were aware that the numbers would skyrocket if the tension exploded in front of millions of viewers. Some were worried that things may go out of control, while others contended that this was exactly what the show needed to take over the news. Regardless, supporters were already bracing themselves for the possibility of a public altercation. The idea immediately sparked reactions on social media. "This is about to be a war," said one admirer, and their remark quickly gained widespread attention. Fans no longer see the competition as just a nasty shade between two women. As one commenter put it, Kirk versus Mendeecees is the real main event. Forget Rasheeda versus Yandy. As a dispute between unions, spouses, and reputations. The tension grew even further when Mendeecees himself posted a subtle message that his followers immediately connected to the controversy. Despite its indirectness, the intention appeared to be obvious. He sent a photo of himself and Yandy with the succinct but powerful remark, "Always protect what's yours." Fans who interpreted it as a clear warning to Kirk that limits had been crossed and that consequences would follow flooded in with supportive remarks. For his part, Kirk stayed remarkably quiet, but speculation could still find him. His lack of social media participation was interpreted by some as a sign of strategy and by others as a sign of regret. Whatever the truth, the uncertainty only served to heighten the drama. One admirer wrote on Twitter, "He's keeping quiet because he knows Mendeecees is coming for him." Rasheeda couldn't hide her frustration when someone else retorted, "He's just letting it blow over." Kirk always finds a way to spin things. Those close to her said she was tired of continually cleaning up Kirk's mess. But she was also upset with Yandy and Mendeecees' manipulation of the story. She allegedly said to a friend, "It feels like they're painting us as villains just for ratings. We've dealt with enough in our marriage. We don't need outsiders piling on." But the more she pushed back, the more determined Yandy seemed to hold her ground. And now with Mendeecees stepping into the spotlight, the feud had evolved into something much bigger than she could contain. The cast started to divide almost immediately. Some sided with Kirk and Rasheeda, arguing that Yandy had provoked them too far with constant jabs about marriage and scandals. Others supported Yandy, applauding her bravery for not backing down, even when Kirk's anger reached dangerous levels. The split wasn't quiet either. Cast members began posting cryptic messages online, throwing shade without naming names, fueling even more speculation about where everyone stood. Loyalty is tested in silence, not noise. One cast member wrote, "It quickly became clear that one person wrote, 'Don't cry when a lion roars when you poke it.'" Many people interpreted this as supporting Kirk's response. Fans analyzed every word and emoji in an attempt to decipher hidden meanings, turning every post into a guessing game. In addition, the drama generated discussions outside of the broadcast. Bloggers, talk radio hosts, and even relationship specialists offered their opinions, examining the conflict as though it were a case study on marriage dynamics, pride, and masculinity. As one commenter put it, "It's not just about Kirk and Yandy on national television. It's about two households, two families, and what happens when boundaries are violated." The conversation expanded the story's reach and made it a cultural talking topic for those who weren't even frequent viewers. The most startling claim of all was that Mendeecees had previously informed producers that he wouldn't be willing to work with Kirk on a project until specific requirements were fulfilled. According to some insiders, he wanted Kirk to publicly admit that threatening Yandy had been inappropriate, while others said he sought an apology on TV. The internet was enraged by the mere notion of such conditions. "If Kirk apologizes, he looks weak," a supporter countered. "If he doesn't, Mendeecees will drag him forever." The rumors escalated into never-ending arguments, with fans picking sides as if it were a championship match. Yandy's own veiled remarks fueled the flames even further. "Let's just say that I don't fight my battles alone." She recently told a group of fans, "It's one thing to argue with me, but it's another thing to threaten me." The audience applauded, taking her remarks as a sign that Mendeecees was prepared to enter the ring. Fans began speculating about the actual battle as the dispute intensified. People making phony posters for Kirk versus Mendeecees, the Battle of Atlanta, inundated timelines with memes. The story became an online spectacle as gifs of boxing contests. Wrestling videos and dramatic stare-downs were shared thousands of times. Even those who weren't fans of Love and Hip Hop couldn't help but join in the discussion. Wanting to know if the drama would live up to the hype, Kirk's attorneys, meanwhile, maintained that he wasn't as guilty as everyone had made him out to be. They argued he was provoked, But Yandy's fans weren't buying it. One fan shot back saying, "Not all men threaten women, but plenty of men get provoked. Any man would lose it if someone kept dragging his marriage and his past." That's the difference. The argument spilled into comment sections, group chats, and live debates, proving just how polarizing the feud had become. Producers reportedly struggled to keep control of the narrative. The feud had taken on a life of its own, spreading far beyond the confines of the show. What began as a storyline was now dominating headlines with real-life consequences looming in the background. Could Kirk and Mendeecees ever sit in the same room again? Would Rasheeda and Yandy ever find peace? Or had the damage gone too far? The unanswered questions kept everyone on edge, eating the suspense as if the entire situation was a cliffhanger waiting to explode. Through it all, one thing was clear. Mendeecees was no longer a background figure in this drama. His silence had been replaced with fury. His calm with determination and his loyalty to Yandy had transformed into a force that Kirk could no longer ignore. Whether fans saw him as a hero, a husband defending his wife, or just another player in a never-ending cycle of drama, one fact couldn't be denied. The tension was only climbing higher, and the explosion everyone feared seemed closer than ever. As anticipation grew, whispers about a potential public face-off between Kirk and Mendeecees turned into near certainty. Fans were convinced that two men would eventually be forced into the same room. And every upcoming event became the subject of intense speculation. When a charity gala in Atlanta was announced, rumors swirled that both couples had been invited, and the internet immediately went into overdrive. "This is it," one fan posted. "The showdown we've all been waiting for." The night of the event, cameras flashed, fans crowded outside, and tension buzzed through the air like electricity. Both couples arrived separately, and insiders claimed the atmosphere shifted. The second Mendeecees stepped through the door. He was calm on the surface, but those who saw him up close said his expression told a different story. Focused, unflinching, and ready for whatever came his way. Kirk, who arrived earlier with Rasheeda, reportedly stiffened the moment he realized his rival was in the building. Attendees whispered that the energy between them was palpable, even from across the room. Rasheeda clung tightly to Kirk's arm, her jaw set, while Yandy walked confidently beside Mendeecees, her head held high as if daring anyone to question her presence. The unspoken tension pulled everyone in, and suddenly the gala itself faded into the background. The real show was happening between these two families. Producers allegedly scrambled behind the scenes, unsure whether to intervene or let the drama play out on its own. The crowd hushed as the couples finally crossed paths. A tense silence stretched before the first words were exchanged. The kind of silence that made every ear lean closer, every eye sharpen. "So, this is what we're doing now," Mendeecees reportedly said, his voice calm but weighted with warning. "You think it's okay to threaten my wife? To try and scare her in front of everyone? You thought that wasn't going to reach me?" Kirk's response, according to insiders, was quick but defensive. It was the heat of the moment. "I said what I said, but I didn't put my hands on nobody. Don't twist it into something it wasn't." His voice trembled slightly, caught between pride and unease. Yandy, unable to hold back, cut in sharply. "Don't act like you didn't mean it. You wanted to intimidate me, and you thought you could get away with it. But you forgot one thing. I'm not alone. My husband don't play about me." Rasheeda snapped back instantly, her voice rising above the murmur of the crowd. "And my husband doesn't need to answer to you. You stay running your mouth, dragging us into your mess. And now you want to play the victim. Not today." The room erupted into chaos. Attendees gasping. Phones coming out to capture every second. Fans watching the leaked clips later would describe it as one of the most intense scenes in franchise history. Emotions raw and pride clashing in real time. Mendeecees, however, didn't raise his voice. His calm only made his words sharper. "You don't threaten a woman. Not mine, not anybody's. If you want to fight with your wife's enemies, that's between y'all. But you crossed a line, Kirk. And once you cross it, you can't go back." The statement landed heavy. Kirk's face hardened, but his body betrayed him. His fists clenched, his shoulders tense, his breath uneven. Rasheeda tugged at his arm, whispering furiously for him to let it go. But the weight of Mendeecees' words lingered in the air like smoke. The crowd was divided just like the fan base. Some applauded Mendeecees for staying composed yet firm, praising him for standing up for Yandy without losing control. Others defended Kirk, saying he was provoked into the entire situation and was unfairly painted as the villain. The debate spilled online instantly. Fans dissecting every angle of the encounter, creating endless loops of clips to prove their point. Loops of clips to prove their point. Cast members watching from the sidelines were just as split. A few nodded in agreement with Mendeecees, whispering that Kirk had taken things too far. Others stood with Rasheeda, insisting that Yandy had been stirring the pot for months and finally pushed Kirk past his limit. The show's family suddenly felt like fractured camps with alliances shifting overnight. The tension reached a breaking point when one of the producers finally stepped in, placing a hand on Kirk's shoulder and firmly steering him away. "Not here, not like this," they said, their tone a mix of warning and plea. Kirk resisted for a moment, but eventually let himself be pulled back, his glare never leaving Mendeecees. The silent standoff spoke louder than words. The feud wasn't over, just paused. After the event, social media exploded. Hashtags like "How Men's V's Kirk and Hauer Family Feudal" trended for hours. Fan edits popped up online comparing the men's expressions, slowing down every moment of eye contact to read hidden meanings. That look Kirk gave at the end. One fan posted, "That's not over. This is just the beginning." Yandy fueled the flames even more with a late-night post. A picture of her holding hands with Mendeecees, captioned simply, "Love. Loyalty is louder than noise," Rasheeda said in her own post in response, along with a picture of herself and Kirk smiling at the event. The internet went bananas, interpreting it as a victory lap and a statement that Kirk had a spouse that was always there for her, regardless of what she said or did. The back and forth between the couples became a war of captions, a silent but powerful extension of the feud. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed producers were thrilled. The tension had given them exactly what they needed: headlines, ratings, and a storyline that fans couldn't get enough of. "This is lightning in a bottle," said a source. It was more than simply entertainment for the participating families. According to accounts, the stress began to seep into their homes. "We can't manufacture this kind of energy. The fans are glued in and we're just getting started." Kirk and Rasheeda argued about how serious the situation was, as Yandy and Mendeecees debated how public their next move should be. The animosity transcended cameras and subtitles. It was affecting real life, making everyone think about how much they were willing to risk for pride and testing allegiances. As onlookers watched everything unfold, one question lingered. Could this conflict be resolved? Or was it required to continue until something broke? With the entire world watching, both women holding their ground and both men not giving up, it didn't seem so much like an argument as a ticking time bomb. Whatever the fans' position, one thing was for sure: no one had predicted how big this story had become, and the next stage would surely shake Atlanta. It's been quite the adventure. From the intense argument between Rasheeda and Yandy, to Kirk losing his temper, and now Mendeecees joining in with his own rage, the tension has reached an unimaginable height. Fans are still ecstatic and their emotions are still raw. But the families involved are left divided in ways that may take more than 1 or 2 episodes to heal. When Kirk warned, the room shook. Yandy's resistance kept the fire going. But Mendeecees' response added a whole new level of tension that made everyone uneasy. Some thought that the pinnacle of loyalty was when a husband stood up for his wife no matter what. Others interpreted it as proof that ego and pride can fan a tiny flame and turn it into something uncontrolled. Anyway, the plot has exploded much beyond its start, and fans all over the country are watching. The real question is now simple but important. Where does it all go from here? Will Mendeecees and Kirk ever be able to collaborate? Or are we seeing the start of a dispute that could split the cast and change the show forever? Will Rasheeda and Yandy keep making fun of each other? Or will their husband's involvement cause the drama to worsen? Now is your time to leave a comment. Do you think Mendeecees should have stayed out of the feud, or should he have stepped in? Did Kirk make a mistake that will never be corrected, or did he go too far? Please share your thoughts in the comments box below, as we would want to hear what you think about this topic. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single twist. I guarantee that this tale of love and hip-hop will only get more complicated in the future. Going to get messier? Going to get messier?